What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue my 2023 schedule previews and projected records for the 2023 college football season. And we continue them with the Pittsburgh Panthers. Here's a schedule last year for Pittsburgh. The overall record for this team last year going 9-4 overall in the regulars, or actually 8-4 overall in the regular season, and then of course 9-4 overall in 2022. They won their bowl game at the end of there against UCLA. It was kind of a step back year for this Pitt team, considering they made the ACC title game in 2021. So yeah, they had a lot of losses there from the 2021 team, and they came to 2022 with a little bit of a different team. But you look at who they played in the non-conference. They played West Virginia, Tennessee, Western Michigan on the road, and then Rhode Island. So they didn't really have too tough of a non-conference schedule. They had to play Tennessee and West Virginia, though. They got both of those games at home. They obviously won against West Virginia. That was a good game. And then, of course, they won lost to Tennessee at home. That's a game that could have probably won. That game was back and forth, and it went into overtime once again. And then Tennessee pretty much got the revenge from about the 2 years ago matchup. So it was a pretty interesting game there. You look at who they lost in the ACC. They lost to Georgia Tech, which was probably their most embarrassing loss they had, especially when it was at home. And then they lost to Louisville and North Carolina, both on the road in back-to-back road games. So, yeah, they lost back-to-back road games to the Cardinals and the Tar Heels here. Those are the three losses they had in the ACC. But not too bad of a season for this Pitt team. It was kind of a step-back year after 2021. So now they're heading into 2023. I think this will probably be another step back a little bit for Pitt, but we'll see what the schedule looks like heading into 2023. Here's the schedule for Pitt heading into the 2023 season. You see who they'll play in the non-conference. They will play Wofford, Cincinnati at home, and then they'll play West Virginia on the road. So kind of the same, kind of schedule last year. They played, two Power 5 teams in the non-conference, but they did still play. Also, they'll get Notre Dame on the road. So, yeah, that's considered a non-conference game. So, yeah, they get 4 non-conference teams, but not in the month of September. They'll play Cincinnati on September the 9th and then West Virginia on the road. Cincinnati is obviously a tough non-conference game. The good news is, though, they'll get that game at home. And then, of course, West Virginia on the road. That'll be a tough place to play. Obviously, Pitt beat them last year. And then they'll play Notre Dame on the road. Going to be a really tough game there. Sam Hartman now heading to Notre Dame. That's going to be an interesting strategy there as he goes up against Pitt. And obviously the schedule, let's go through it now here for Pitt. Again, no divisions in the ACC. They'll start off the season on September the 2nd against Wofford. Then they'll play Cincinnati here on September the 9th. Interesting non-conference game there, considering Cincinnati is now a Power 5 team. So, yeah, it was kind of similar to Tennessee last year, a Power 5 team in the second week of the season. Cincinnati now in the Big 12, so that's why I have to call them a Power 5 team. And then there's that game on the road on West Virginia here on September the 16th. This was a back-and-forth game last year. It should be another interesting matchup. I know I know West Virginia is probably not going to be a team to look out for in the Big 12, but I think this is going to be a tough road game for Pitt either way. So, and it's early in September. You never know what can happen. And then they'll play North Carolina here on September the 23rd. Obviously, a revenge game here for, Pitt. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game here no matter what. Again, no divisions in the ACC this year, but they will get North Carolina here at home. September the 30th, they'll play against Virginia Tech. Then they'll play Louisville here. They'll get a bye week before playing this game. Obviously, another revenge game for Pitt. Louisville going to have a different team this year, but they'll have a different coaching staff, and that's going to be a lot of changes there to the Louisville Cardinals football program. And then they'll play back-to-back road games here against Wake Forest and then Notre Dame. So, yeah, you had to play Wake Forest here on the road and then Notre Dame here on the road. Those are not easy back-to-back games, but Wake Forest, we don't really know what they're going to look like because Sam Hartman has gone in the transfer portal. He's transferred over to the team that they play next, and that's Notre Dame. Notre Dame obviously will be a tough one on the road. This is a team that's really motivated coming into the season and maybe a college football playoff type team. And then they'll play Florida State here on November the 4th, so things don't really get easier for Pitt. They have to play Wake Forest, Notre Dame, and then Florida State here at home. And Louisville obviously could be a pretty big challenge as well, considering that game is at home. But, yeah, 4 straight games here that are really tough teams. You never know what can happen in all 4 of these games. And then they'll play Syracuse. And this one will be at New York. This one will be played at Yankee Stadium. It's really interesting there. They have an ACC matchup in New York City and also in Yankee Stadium. Playing on a baseball field, that would be pretty interesting to watch. So it will be on November the 11th. And then they'll play Boston College here on November the 16th. That will be a Thursday night game. And then they'll end things out on the road at Duke on November the 25th. Duke team that was really good last year. Going to be a tough road game here for Pitt. But this is the schedule for Pitt. And yes, 4 straight games against really good quality teams from October the 14th to the 20th or November the 4th. Louisville, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame in back-to-back road games. And then Florida State will be a pretty tough one. So this schedule is kind of difficult for Pitt, but it's not brutal. At least they get some games here at home, but it will be a tough stretch there from October the 14th and then from November the 4th. So, but let's get right to the projection now for this Pitt team. Again, this is not simply a prediction. This is simply a projection. This is a scale I pretty much use for my projections. And if you follow my team so far that I've done, I've started with the top 25 teams from last year. That's what I'm doing. I'm almost done with it now, and then we'll pretty much, go through and do all the other teams. So, and the 1% games, these are going to be in the red, pretty much games where Pitt has no chance of winning, 20% about a couple touchdowns of an underdog. 40% games in the yellow, pretty much games where Pitt will be about a touchdown underdog. 50-50 games pretty much will be in the white, pretty much games where they can go either way. 60% games, about a touchdown favorite for this Pitt team. 80% about a couple touchdowns in the blue. And then 90% games, these are where Pitt's going to be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. And that's what we'll start with. We always start with the green games here. Pretty much, throughout my projections, we'll start with the green games here at 90%. I just got only one game on this schedule, and that's Wofford to begin this season on September the 2nd. I think, the rest of the schedule, I really don't see any other green games on here for Pitt. I think Wofford is pretty much the only one that, is going to be considered a 3-touchdown favorite for Pitt, and that's the beginning of the year against Wofford. It's a non-conference game. They really should take care of business in this one. They have no business to lose this game, so I think Pitt will be about a 3-touchdown favorite. How about the games now where Pitt's going to be favored by about a couple touchdowns in the blue? I got 2 of those on the schedule. I got Virginia Tech here on the road and then Boston College at home. Virginia Tech, obviously almost one of the worst ACC teams from last year. They had a disappointing season. This one will be on the road. I probably could have put this one in the green, but it is a ACC matchup. That's why I got to put it in the blue. And also, I probably could have put this one in the purple because Virginia Tech could be a tough place to play. I'm going to stick with it and put it in the blue for right now. And then Boston College, I don't know what the roster is going to look like for Boston College. I'm going to just remain this one in the blue as well. All right, we now go to the games where Pitt's going to be favored by about a touchdown in the purple at 60%. And I got 3 of those on the schedule. I got Cincinnati at home, West Virginia on the road, and then Wake Forest on the road. Cincinnati, obviously a new team in the Big 12. It will be a tough matchup here. I think Pitt, though, with home field advantage, I think they will still be favorites, no doubt about it. Cincinnati, I thought about putting this one in the 50-50 game, but I don't really know how good Cincinnati is going to be. I really don't know what the roster is going to look like just yet. Like I said, we don't really know what the rosters are going to look like until after spring. So, yeah, Pitt, I think, will still be a favorite, even though it's a non-conference game and even though it's a tough matchup. And then I think they'll still be favorites here on the road at West Virginia. Considering they beat them last year, West Virginia was a team that was not good last year. Maybe they will be better this year, but I think, Pitt will obviously still be a favorite heading into that game. And then Wake Forest on the road. We don't really know what Wake Forest is going to look like, but this is obviously a tough place to play. And I'm just going to stick with it and put it in the purple. All right, how about the games now where Pitt is going to be an underdog in? Do I see any red or orange games on here? I don't really see any red or orange games on here. I do see them being heavy underdogs in some of these games on the schedule, and that's 3 of them on the schedule. I got North Carolina at home, Notre Dame on the road, and then Florida State at home. North Carolina and Florida State were close to being 50-50 games, but I think, with them having a really good season last year, and also this is just based off of where the teams were last year, and that's why I got to put, these 2 home games in the yellow. But I think they'll be heavy underdogs in this one. I'm not saying they don't have a shot to win it. I think they do have a really good shot to be that can pull off a huge win here in both of these games. Maybe it's one of those upset alert type games perhaps. They could probably pull off an upset against North Carolina and Florida State at home. And then obviously Notre Dame, I think they will be a heavy underdog. I probably would have put that one in the orange. But I think Notre Dame, we don't really know what they're going to be like yet. But, this is just based off of the teams from last year. But Sam Hartman coming over there, and Notre Dame is going to be a really talented team this year. And like I said, I think there'll be heavy underdogs heading into all of these games in the yellow. North Carolina, Notre Dame on the road, and then Florida State here at home. And the rest of the games here on the schedule for Pitt are pretty much 50-50 games. Louisville at home on October the 14th. Syracuse at New York. That's a neutral site game. And then Duke, obviously, on the road as well. Duke was pretty close for me to put it in the yellow. But I think, this will be a game that can go either way. Plus, it's in, the last weekend of the regular season. And I think this will be a back-and-forth game. Louisville, obviously, the same thing. This one will be at home, but I think it will be a back-and-forth game, even though they have a new era coming in. And then Syracuse, that's a neutral site game. It will be in New York. I think Syracuse is going to be a pretty interesting team this year. I probably would have put this one as a favorite for Pitt, but I'm going to say that it will be a 50-50 game just because it's a neutral site game. I can't really put it in any of those other colors like purple or blue, so I'm going to stick with it and just put it in the white. So those are my games where I think Pitt will have 50-50 games in. So if you look at the schedule, let's now get to the projection here. This is simply not a prediction. This is simply a projection based on the schedule. If you look at the games that Pitt's favored in and also the 3 games that they're underdogs in, and also look at the games that they're 50-50 games in, the overall projected record for this Pitt team in 2023 comes out to be 7-5 for 2023 for this Pitt team. So yeah, it's kind of a step back year. They went 8-4 last year in the regular season, 9-4 overall. This schedule is really tough, though. It's really tough to predict, and also when we do our predictions, it's going to be really tough to predict because you have to play Cincinnati and West Virginia out of the non-conference, and then you have to play Notre Dame on the road. And yeah, you got all these other ACC teams. You got Florida State at home and North Carolina at home as well, but those are very winnable games. But, those are very winnable games. I think Pitt will have a really good opportunity in, and obviously the yellow games, they have a really good opportunity as well. But like I said, when you look at this schedule, and pretty much, you look at this schedule, the toughest about it, and also, the schedule that they're favorites in, and the underdogs the games that they're underdogs in. Yeah, the overall projected record is 7-5 for Pitt in 2023. But that's my projected record for this Pitt team. Let me guys know what you think about this Pitt team. What do you think their projected record will be? Let me know what you think their worst case scenario will be and their best case scenario will be. Like I said, I think their best case scenario would be 8-4. Worst case would be 6-6. So, like I said, that's my projected record for this Pitt team. Let me guys know what you think about this team. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.